All right. What's up, man? It's been a while.
Hey, it has.
I had to get my computer fixed. The show almost ended, but I knew it wasn't going to end. I said, it's got to keep going. It's
No
got to keep
way.
going.
No way.
It
A
did.
reincarnation, if you will,
Yes,
if I
yes.
dare
Yeah. I
go
didn't
that
want to
way.
spend the money, but the show was just too important. So, with all that
Nice.
being said, we got a new topic, this is episode 30. Can you believe it? We've done 30 episodes together.
That is fantastic. I
And
love it.
and this one is all about ayahuasca. So, let's check it
Oh,
out. All right, so I got some footage here. This is what ayahuasca does to your brain.
Who
oh,
described it in
interesting.
the
Okay.
1700s claimed it serves for mystification and bewitchment. But the origins of this botanical beverage trace back much further to the earliest indigenous inhabitants of the Amazon basin. Today, it's a trendy trip in mainstream drug culture, but also a promising key for unlocking new potential of the brain and mind. This is ayahuasca.
Long as humans have inhabited the
Skip the music.
Amazon basin.
Ayahuasca is an entheogen, which means it's a psychoactive substance that is used in a sacred or traditional context. Other examples of entheogens are peyote and magic mushrooms. Traditionally, ayahuasca is administered
Interesting.
under the close care of a shaman and is used as a medicine to correct physical, emotional, and spiritual imbalances and encourage more harmonious relationships with others.
I don't want to digress too much, but I want to say this. This medicine is thousands of years old. Peru, Colombia, South America, long before it was called South America. And the Catholics and all them came in and they would say this is all demonic and this is evil. I don't think it is. I think people were more in touch with basically the universe, the world, and and spirit. And I think in the West, specifically in America, like how I grew up, it was taken away from us and broken, and it was totally shamed and demonized pretty much, because I grew up like Catholic too, so I don't like that. I think has a lot. This is valid. This is important.
It's interesting, and I think you're right in the sense that a lot of these old or ancient medicinal or shamanic practices, like people think, oh, okay, we don't need that anymore. We have modern medicine. We have modern this. We have television to distract us, or
Yes, right.
music or
To
whatnot.
basically be unplugged when this plugs you in. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we've forgotten as people our connection with other things. Now, whether one has to go all the way to ayahuasca, like it's like going from 0 to 60,
Sure.
from what I've heard,
Sure.
in like a second. But either way, I think there are ways to connect and to remind us that we're not these isolated sort of, the way I think of it, these isolated, closed off systems that walk around with no connection to anything around us. I
Yeah.
think
Well, but look what
this can
has
serve a
been
valuable purpose, right?
look what has been pushed in
For
its
some.
place. Fentanyl, heroin.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'd rather have a bad journey than be stuck on heroin, I think, right? And heroin's
I would,
way more
right,
prominent than ayahuasca is, and I'd rather see this than that,
right.
you know?
I would imagine you're absolutely right. Plus, as I understand, ayahuasca should be done, or at least quote properly, for
Yeah.
lack of better words. It's in the context of a spiritual or a spiritual ceremony or
Sure.
traditional
And
ceremony. It's not just taken for recreation or for
Sure.
fun or just to
but you're
get
also
away from it all.
you're being guided by people who spend their entire life
Yeah.
as a living, breathing part of their culture. When you see them with the feathers and everything, you're seeing not just one generation, you're seeing a lot of
Right,
generations of a very specific kind of esoteric vocation, which is super, super important. A lot of priests, I don't think I would trust a priest as much as some of these guys, because they're so cool. They know their culture. They are their culture. And I feel like priests sometimes, I don't know what they are. They just represent like this holier than thou thing sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's funny because I've met some priests who are very spiritually connected. Like you can feel it in there's something there. They feel it. They're part of a different culture, you could say. They're there, and then you look at people like these shamans, let's say, or Buddhist monks, or Taoist practitioners, and so forth. They're also connected. Not all, but many. And I think it's just fascinating and beautiful when you meet somebody who's really spiritually connected and can
And
help
then
you on the
their
path,
grandfathers,
whatever path you're doing. Right?
their grandfather's grandfather, whatever. We're talking so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
generations. They are living, breathing, like just encapsulated culture that is just pristine. That's why I like the Native Americans, the Star people. They believe in a lot of different things than we do, and they're like, oh no, it's true, we come from the stars. And you're like, oh, and they're just utterly convinced, for hundreds and hundreds of years. But anyway, we should get back to this video.
When the
Let's
warriors of Amazon
check this
tribes
out.
return from hunting, for example, they
Ayahuasca. The drinker is meant to connect deeply with their inner self and gain direct access to the spiritual world. Ayahuasca, after all, is a Quechua word that can be loosely translated to vine of the soul or vine of the spirits.
Interesting.
Ayahuasca itself isn't technically a single plant. It's a psychotropic tea made of two plants: the vine, Banisteriopsis caapi, and the shrub, Psychotria viridis. Other plants can be added, but these two are the main attraction. Let's break down each of these plants individually.
First up is Banisteriopsis caapi, sometimes called yage or just plain caapi. This plant is a liana, a giant woody stemmed vine native to the Amazon and Orinoco river basins in South America. It's one of about 16,000 members of the Malpighiales order, one of the largest
She said Malpighiales.
Malpighiales,
I like this
yeah.
word. I like this.
Right?
orders
I like
of
all the,
flowering plants.
Well, it's
Is there a
basi-
test at the end of this?
dude, it's real science. It's true science.
Oh yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
like most things, like we
Absolutely.
take like Tylenol and all of these pain relievers, they exist in the forest. There's trees that can do that, and these cultures know them. You don't
Right,
need to go to pharmacist if you're truly at like know your land.
Right. If you know what you're doing,
Evergreen climber
You're
probably amazing what you can find.
shamans are really cool, and also I played a lot of role playing games, so I
Yeah.
played shamans. I know shamans. They don't scare me. Like I know what they are.
can reach up to
Right.
30 meters long.
That's as long as the longest blue whale ever recorded.
Wow.
There's some speculation that Amazonian shamans first became aware of the powerful effects of Banisteriopsis caapi when they observed jaguars tripping bippity boppity boos
Oh,
after
I love jaguars. I'm not gonna get into it, but I could do a whole episode on jaguars and like the whole
Interesting.
the cats. Like I would have loved to seen a saber-toothed tiger moving. Oh, that would have been the shit. You know?
Oh, I know, right?
Ooh.
Yeah, the big cats are fascinating
cat-
because I
they're-
imagine
They're the best.
it's just like our domestic cat, only a lot bigger, scarier, and
and
deadlier, right?
Extremely powerful. Like
Oh, yeah.
extremely.
Oh, yeah.
gnawing on these vines.
It's the jungle equivalent
That's
of
funny.
catnip, but for big old cats.
That's crazy that the tigers chew on it. I think animals they are with the spirit world. I like cats are just so intelligent. They just like look at stuff, and I'm like, you are locked in, man. And I think they live a very different experience than we do as a
Oh, they must,
a
yeah.
bipedal humanoid. They're hearing, their
Well,
vision.
for sure, right? Animals have consciousness.
Yeah.
We know that. We can extrapolate some things, but yeah, like once my cousin's cat sat on the edge of the bed. I was sleeping at his overnight. It sat on the edge of the bed, the cat, for 8 hours straight and did not move, and it was staring at me the entire night. It was amazing. I woke up the next morning. I'm like, my goodness, you're still there. How is that possible? Right?
I guess it was the cat was interested in you for sure.
I guess so. Yeah. I didn't know I was that entertaining when I was asleep, but. Yeah.
Next up is Psychotria viridis. Commonly called chacruna, this plant is a flowering shrub that's part of Rubiaceae, otherwise known as the coffee family. This woody plant is no shrimpy shrub. It can grow 5 meters tall and 2 meters wide. In addition to being a key ingredient in ayahuasca, the Machigenga people also use the juice of its leaf as eye drops to treat migraines.
It burns like hell when you first drop it in your eyes, but it gives you access to heightened vision to see with understanding, according to the Andoke tribe of Colombia.
Whoa.
Now
Ayahuasca
that
is
is
made by a
fascinating.
shaman by washing pieces of caapi bark, pounding them with a wood.
Isn't it crazy? I'll just say this real quick that the ancient cultures, we go to the movies and we want to like see a journey and live an experience. Man, these guys just go in the woods and go just use what they got, and they're tripping and they're seeing God. And I mean, whoa, it's like more than virtual reality.
It's like the movie of your mind, right? Like,
Man, it's like, this is boring out here. What do you guys do? You're like, we go to outer space every day. It's like, oh, and you got to get used to it. We're used to weird things. We're used to people drinking alcohol and vomiting.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Fentanyl,
There's-
heroin. Like we're used to it. We're not you know.
There are so many things that can influence our chemistry in our bodies and specifically our brains. So, for good or ill, right? So just, it's so
A
wild.
mallet and layering them with washed leaves of Psychotria viridis in a large pot. The pot is filled with water to cover the plant matter and boiled for at least 8 hours to concentrate it.
So what happens when someone takes ayahuasca? In Spanish, the effect is referred to as mareación, which means dizziness. The drinker may experience visual hallucinations, a sensation of flying, and a sense of euphoria.
Taking ayahuasca over a long period, they may also see their friends and family, both dead and alive, and feel that they can communicate with them. Along with the more pleasant effects, usually
I think it has, I want to get back to the video. I think it has a lot to do with our DNA and how special our DNA is and how much it holds. It's like my computer, I think, is smart. I think my DNA and what's inside of it on a micro level is profoundly something. And I think your ancient ancestors and like their experiences, I think it's in there. And I think when you drink this stuff, that's what's happening. I think you're going down to a microscopic level, and then the microscopic level becomes like really advanced math. It has to deal with all kinds of like, singularities and different causalities. And I think you could overthink it and say it all, but I think when you take this, it just happens. I think that's what DMT does. You're a big puzzle, and then it just like, you're the table, you're all of it. You're the floor that holds the table. Not just the piece of, you're all of the pieces. And you are too. And I am too. We all are.
It's almost like the universe within, the universe without. Kind of
as above, so below.
As above, so below, right? The Hermetic idea.
Yep.
But what's interesting is DNA. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but from what I understand of it, it's almost like it's real, but almost like a hologram. If you split a hologram up somehow, each piece of the hologram contains the whole. Our DNA seems to be very much like that. That's that's the code of who we are.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. So whatever's in our DNA that reacts with this mixture, this potion, basically this tea, it's just wild what it seems to unleash in the mind and supposedly where people claim they go.
Why wouldn't
really
you want to take that opportunity while you're living? While you're living, breathing DNA from generations deep of people who helped make you. And me and you are hundreds of layers deep of people who have lived.
Oh, yeah.
So why?
Yeah, right.
That's probably why it's so profound. We have no idea just how immense we are, right?
It's true. We stand in some ways, you and I sitting here now, as we occupy this exact moment. I mean, what did it take for us to be here? All our ancestors survived, and it multiplies exponentially as you go out. Our parents, their parents, and so on. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and
here we are.
They had to deal with this existence.
Yeah.
Which means they had to eat, they had to sleep, they had to stay safe, they had to not get sick. They eventually all died.
That's right.
But it's somehow, in some way, they made a person. This little person that is so easy to die lives and makes more people.
It's true,
and
right?
it's like we need a lot. We need a grandmom, a grandpop. We need on both sides. We need mom and dad on both sides. That's 4 people, man. That's a lot of people.
All of that, they survived and survived for long enough to replicate and bring us up to help their offspring survive, and all the way down the line until we get to you and me in this exact moment now, which is just, to me,
it's insane,
utterly fascinating.
Because
it is insane.
I'm sure like when America was founded and the immigrants came over, that many children died young. Like you had many children because they would die. They wouldn't all just live. Our people lived through those people. So
they did.
I am so impressed with actually everybody being here. I'm impressed by your tribe, mine. Wow. It's
precisely.
If you think about it, it's profound. They want you to just go to work and pay your bills, but if you think about just how rare and unique we are, it is astounding.
It really is. Plague, famine, war, pestilence, dying at the teeth, dying of what we consider today curable diseases at one time.
Measles,
deadly.
chickenpox, not even that long ago.
It's just remarkable. And so I'd say one thing, without necessarily having taken any ayahuasca, appreciating the moment we're in now is really something. I'm eternally grateful because
Yeah.
it is practically a miracle that I'm sitting here when I think about it
Yeah.
at a level higher than
And
myself.
that's when I kind of see the most magic is when I really am like, this morning I took a cold shower, I exercised, I prayed, I gave thanks, and like there's
Sure.
just these moments where I'm just like I'm so aware of how grateful I am, and I'm like, oh, that's where
Right.
the magic is. And then cool stuff
Right.
happens, like I see multiple numbers. When I came down here, I had the 444 on the Amazon clock over there, and I play this game and I look at the milliseconds. And I'm always looking for like signals and reasons to keep this show going and why I try to even do this or do it. And it had the other 4 4s. It was 4 4 4 4 4. So I always try to get
Oh,
the
that's neat.
milliseconds to match. And I was like, ooh, I got one. And that's like way more rare than just a 4 4 4, you know?
Ever since you mentioned that with the repeating numbers, and I've heard that before from other sources too, but you mentioned it. I was playing a rousing game of The Legend of Zelda, the NES, before, and I realized, hey, I got to get ready for the show, right? So right before I saved it, I said 222 rupees or currency units, right?
No
I'm
kidding.
looking at the repeating two, and I'm like, oh,
Wow.
look at that.
See, you're
Repeating
starting,
number. I'm
you're
like,
starting
what
to see them.
Yeah, you start
Yeah.
to see them like, it's like what's it like the radio tutor concept of the mind?
Yeah.
What you think about, you see more often.
Yeah,
It's really
true.
interesting.
And it's cool because if you get, it's kind of fun. It's a fun game. And when it happens, you're just like, yes, I am alive. I am here. And like,
Sure.
it's like a game. It's like a thing that just like checks in with you and you check in with it. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool. It's kind
yeah.
of cool. Anyway, that was cool. I really like that conversation. We always have good conversations. So let's get back
That
to
we
the
do.
video.
That we have.
Will also come clumsiness, vomiting, and diarrhea, and sometimes
Oh
also
my.
fear, paranoia, and aggression.
That's because the ego is the paranoia. I've had a lot
Yeah,
of paranoia,
yeah.
anxiety, aggression. I try to not be that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other stuff with the vomiting, that's because you're purging. And if you're afraid to purge, okay, the best way I could say it is if when you've gone to, obviously you've vomited from drinking too much. I think most people have. When you fight it sometimes, and like I've fought it, you like lay in
Oh,
bed,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna puke, and maybe 1 out of
You're
10
trying
times
to hold
you're not gonna
back.
puke. Dude, just
Yeah,
go
you-
puke. Just go in there and go
Just-
puke. You'll feel way better. When you're in it and you're puking, it's pretty horrible. You're like,
I was sick not long ago, not from drinking excessively, but just sick from some virus or whatever I caught, right? And boy, when you have to run to the porcelain to basically purge, really, it's the worst because you're actually the anticipation is almost worse.
it
than
is
the
worse.
actual
It is.
event. I
Yeah,
find
it is.
the event is uncomfortable and disgusting, frankly, but the anticipation's almost worse most of the time. Where you're trying to hold it, you're like, no, I'm gonna avoid puking. I don't really have to.
Just
Or,
go
oh
puke.
God, I feel so bad. And all of a sudden, it's all over, and you kind of do feel at least marginally better.
How about when
in
you go
that
back to
moment.
the bed and you're just like, you could taste the
Yeah, right.
vomit. Anyway, that's disgusting.
Oh,
But
it's so
that's
gross.
kind of,
Yeah, anyway.
I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with puking. Just go puke. Don't fight the puke because then you will have probably anxiety and paranoia.
I think you bring up a great point though about the ego, fear, the paranoia, and possibly even the aggression. Arguably, are functions of the ego.
Yeah, I have a lot of
Ego's a useful tool, but we're very wrapped up to it.
I
with
have
it
a
here in the
lot
West.
of aggression, and I play a fighting game Tekken for 30 years, and that's how I get it out. But it's cool
Nice,
and
nice.
it's fun. It's like chess, but like fighting. And yeah, I do
Yeah.
have aggression in me. I do, and I just filter it through that game. And I have
nice, man.
I have learned if you are aggressive, I know how to help you with that. You guys, just listen to me. Don't be afraid to lose. Once you lose, it doesn't mean anything. Like, don't be afraid to lose. Losing's learning. Losing isn't losing.
Right.
You're just getting information, right? You're testing out your maneuvers and your timing and your skill. And yeah, you're going to get rocked a couple times, but that makes it so much better when you come back and you have learned,
That's great. Losing is learning. I really like
is.
that. It's
It
like failing
is.
forward, so to speak.
Oh, dude.
It's
I
That's
enjoy
great.
when I play Tekken.
Yeah.
I like when somebody beats me because I'm really good. So when someone comes in there and they just destroy me, I'm like, you usually have a set, right? You fight 3 times and that's the winner. And the second time, I'm like, oh, you want the real me, you know? And then that third fight is great because you both kind of figured each other out and you're starting to like test each other.
Right.
Oh, it's the best. So that's how I manage my aggression. But anyway,
I like that.
let's get back to this.
To most, puking and pooping your pants may not seem like a fun trip. But for some cultures, the purgative properties of ayahuasca are a welcome part of the experience. Followers of the Santo Daime religion view the puke and the poop that come out as repressed emotions leaving the body.
Cappy and Psychotria viridis grow in
So
the
think of it as repressed emotions leaving the body. That's a
There you go.
better way
Yeah,
to look
there
at
you
it. You're like, yeah, just get it out. Just get it. I don't want to keep it. Take it. That's clever. I like that.
That
same
is
regions of
clever.
South America
Yeah.
and are seemingly made for each other. The chemicals in these 2 ayahuasca plants work in perfect harmony to enable the drinker to have a deep psychotropic experience. The 3 main Harmala alkaloids.
I say awe because I live in a place that's so flat. So whenever I see mountains, I didn't grow up with them at all. So I'm always like, oh, mountains.
Found in
Yeah,
cappy,
like real mountains
harmine,
too, like the Andes.
tetrahydroharmone, and harmaline produce
Here
psychoactive
we go.
effects on their own, but also function as monoamine oxidase inhibitors. Monoamine oxidase is an enzyme that plays a role in removing the
right.
neurotransmitters norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine from the brain.
You might know these as happy hormones. The inhibitors in ayahuasca block the monoamine oxidase from removing happy hormones, making more available in the brain.
Psychotria
Interesting.
viridis contains a powerful hallucinogen called NN-dimethyltryptamine,
There it is.
or DMT.
There it is. Yeah.
There it is. That's in a lot of different things. That is pretty much it. I have also heard, because I've been into this subject for 3 years now, find it very fascinating. Learned through it from Joe Rogan. I think he definitely was the biggest, quote, evangelist of this ever. I don't think there's anyone
Interesting.
close.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. He has talked about it. I heard about it through him talking to Russell Brand, I believe. He's
an interesting guy, Russell Brand. He's
Yeah.
a very
Oh, he
interesting
is.
man.
Yeah, he has an interesting story.
Do you ever
too.
notice? Okay,
Fascinating.
I feel like I'm pretty funny. I feel like I have pretty good timing. I find that funny people are really smart. And funny people end up speaking some of the best truths ever. And they also go through some of the most self-destruction and all the listed things, anxiety, depression, but they seem, I like to think I do it too. You take that and you mix it up and you make something beautiful out of it. And comedians are so good at that. They're important.
I agree 100%. The ability to make people laugh is a gift. And you can learn it to a degree, but sometimes it's just within you. And
you're correct. Not to toot my own
Yeah.
horn. I just want to say it out loud because I'm looking for a little validation. So I have made people smile a lot in my life, and I have made people laugh a lot in my life. It's natural
good.
to me, and I enjoy making people smile. And I'd like to think that the people who know me, a lot of them would be like, oh, he's pretty cool. And like, I would like to think that they have a lot more positive memories of me than negative. I have not many people who are just, they say my name and you're like, oh, I can't wait to get him. You know, like it's just not how I operate. So if you dislike me, I don't know why you would, because I'm not looking to start anything with you. And usually it's fun as well, you know?
isn't it wild that you go out now, again, it's just my perception, so I could be mistaken here, but I think I'm liked in the world. And it comes off of the vibe you're giving out too. Like, I usually don't walk in a room with a very threatening mindset or attitude.
You smile
or,
a lot.
or even an
on
aggressive
camera.
one.
Whenever I edit these
Yeah.
videos and I get thumbnails of you, you smile all the time.
I like to. I think I'm for the most part a reasonably happy person. I also love to make people laugh.
Yeah,
when I can.
You're the same. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are the dark times. You
Yes,
know, I think we
yes.
all go through them.
Yes.
And we all know what that's like. I think comedians are, as you said, telling the truth in sometimes some of the best ways possible, and that's what makes it funny.
And a lot of times the great ones kind of do live on. You can go back and watch.
Yeah.
Come on, what's his name? He was in Bill and Ted's. Oh, he's so good. He's a political guy.
Oh my.
So yeah, George Carlin was the name of the guy I was thinking
That's
about.
him.
And
That's
not just a comedian, but really just an intellectual, a really profound person. You know.
His comments on the time when he was, really famous as a comedian
Yeah.
are almost timeless. You listen to him today, and it's like you you could literally drop him into today's time frame, and
yeah.
his
That guy-
comedy would still be
That man would have written so many more specials
appropriate.
from BLM, and oh my god, he missed a lot of wild stuff.
Oh, he did.
Maybe
he
he
did.
still sees it. I don't know.
I certainly miss him. That's for sure. He was a
For sure.
sane mind in an
When
insane
ingested
world.
alone, it's orally inactive, meaning this chemical.
If you're sipping on ayahuasca so casually like that, this is obviously a stock video. I don't think anybody's just pulling a
Right.
cup of ayahuasca out like that.
No, I would.
You're about to go poop and puke, and this lady's got her hair's
I
clean.
know, it's interesting.
Yeah, right.
She just said if you're sipping for hypothetically DMT on its own, it's inactive. It doesn't affect anything.
That's
which is
correct. You
fascinating.
need the other part of it, which does
You
something
need the
to
other
your
chemicals
to your gut. It changes the gut, and then the gut doesn't
Yeah.
process this one thing, and then it's
That's really
actually able to
interesting.
go through. It is a root and a stem. All right, let's go.
doesn't create any psychedelic effect. That's because it's broken down by the monoamine oxidase in the liver and gastrointestinal tract
right.
before it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
But add in some monoamine oxidase inhibitors from the CAPI, and DMT can enter the central nervous system, giving the drinker
like
an
the
intense
chemistry
and
of this.
long-lasting psychedelic experience.
Ayahuasca is considered a master plant or teacher plant, which are plants that possess strong curative and spiritual powers. Other examples of teacher plants in Amazonian indigenous culture are Brunfelsia grandiflora, a flowering shrub of the nightshade family known as
That's pretty.
Shariq
Yeah.
salungo, Mansoa alliaceae, also known as ajo sasha or
Ajo
garlic
sasha.
vine, due to its pungent garlicky scent, and Caliandra
Huh.
angustifolia,
Wow, they're beautiful.
known
Oh,
as
look at that.
Ballanzana, or the heart opener.
Ayahuasca
Wow.
is known as the
The
teacher
heart
teacher,
opener.
and is said to be the voice of wisdom of all the teacher plants.
Wow.
Worldwide,
Wow.
non-traditional interest in ayahuasca has spiked in recent decades.
Yep.
But because of this mainstream interest, ayahuasca is currently being investigated for use in conventional medicine. It shows promise in a number of areas, including protecting and restoring brain cells and treating a host
Wow.
of psychological disorders like anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
PTSD, and addiction.
Wow,
The
the
list
big
of potential
I've heard
benefits
that
is as
too.
long as this
I've heard that in
history
other
as
podcasts.
traditional medicine.
I would assume 20 years from now, if society stays relatively the same, that it will certainly be used. Because let me just say it quickly. Our generation is getting into power into America, like J.D. Vance, for example, and he has more of a younger mentality. So does Tulsi Gabbard. The baby boomers are leaving, who was, all that stuff they did. They were also hippies too. I don't know what happened to them, but I think in the next 20 some years, I do believe that they'll be more open to certain things like this instead of pushing pharmaceutical drugs and shit like this and SSRIs and all that. There is obviously another way, and it's been suppressed, I believe.
It's fascinating because I think you're right. It's interesting to see the trend. Like, for example, the U.S. Defense Secretary, he's in his 40s, right? J.D. Vance. Others like them, whose names just escape me right now.
Those guys.
Those guys, right? They are basically our age, maybe slightly older, depending on how old we are here, right? I think it is interesting. They do seem more open to certain things. Even things like I heard the president of the United States talking about a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency reserve of some sort, where it's hard to imagine the previous generation really being interested in something like that. He is the previous generation, Mr. Trump is.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see how things are slowly changing. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether it's good or bad. That's kind of off the table for this discussion. But it is just interesting to see how open we are. And I notice more people are talking about things like ayahuasca, peyote, psilocybin, things like that.
Yep. It's
for legitimate use.
I think
Yeah.
people are just, I don't know. I'm just glad that finally the boomers are getting out because they're so compromised at this point. I can't even. Anyway.
Ask any Amazonian shaman, and they'll tell you the results are already in about the benefits of ayahuasca. It's a classic case of mainstream healthcare investigating a medicine that's already been used by indigenous healers for centuries.
Hear that?
Really should, right?
Centuries. Again,
Centuries.
So I'm a big fan of what has been, right? I go by what's been here for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I would like to think that has some empirical data, right?
That's
this
what
newer
I'm
stuff.
big into.
I'm not that interested in. If it worked for hundreds of years, and it preserved then there must be merit to it. There must be something to it. These people who work hard, love their families, take care of their communities, rebuild after war, if they're going somewhere and using some medicine that is helping, that is their culture and their spirituality, and they just know it. They don't even, unlike the West, where we're so blah, blah, blah about the way we live. A lot of people in Peru, they're just regular people living their lives, and they're not going out of their way to be like, I've been part of the universe and I am. They don't. As you would notice, other people would just brag. And it seems like the people who have the keys to the universe are more humble than anybody else. It's weird.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, in the West, we tend to, or have forgotten, I think, certain aspects of being a well-rounded or the holistic approach to things. Our well-being, right? The holistic sense of well-being. And I think there's some medicines that we should investigate. Ancient medicines. Let's see. Do they, in fact, empirically lead to the well-being? Do they enhance a person's well-being? And if we can get data and evidence on that, I say let's do it.
I think
let's take a look.
They are doing
See
it.
what they do.
There's a whole thing going on. I saw it on YouTube that in England they're doing something where they're keeping people submerged in DMT longer, and they're mapping the world of DMT. And it was just a thing I have to watch.
Wild.
It's like a 3-hour pod.
Okay.
I have to watch. They're doing it.
That must be interesting.
But let's watch another video. So let's do something
let's
fun.
check it out.
So this is Jim Belushi telling us about one of his ayahuasca adventures in Peru.
Oh, here we go.
And then all of a sudden my mind started talking to me, my ego. My ego was starting not to like this. First 5 were I needed
I'm going to skip past the music here.
something. I had seen my friend Steven, and he was like kind of an anxious guy and a little crazy, and I seen him again, and he was different. And I said, hey man, what the hell happened to you? And he said, well, I went down to this place in Peru, and I did this ayahuasca thing. And I said, how do I get in on that? So I went down there, did the whole ceremony, and he did this whole ritual, and he explained the ayahuasca plant. You think about what you'd like to have healed, and you blow into it. Then you wait for about 45 minutes. Everything seemed cool. It's like, hey, man, I'm in the jungle. It's cool. Then
I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they get people talking about their trips and they animate them. It's brilliant.
This is already hilarious. Yeah.
my eyes closed and saw geometric figures. And then all of a sudden my mind started talking to me, my ego. My ego was starting not to like this. What are you doing down here? This guy's not right. This is a cult. You're gonna be stuck in the jungle. Get out, just get out, get out. Go to a plane, get to a plane right now. You know how to do that. And the shaman said, what's going on? I said, well, I got all these chattering monkeys. And they're saying all kinds of nasty stuff. He was okay.
That's interesting.
I love how the shaman's just like, what's the matter, baby? Let me fix that for you. Tell me what your problem is.
Well, what's
All these
going
singing
on?
bowls.
This is
And he started
really well done. I
singing
like this.
An Icaros, which is beautiful. Wow. He had a beautiful voice, almost sounded like a cantor.
All right, guys, since I'm so good, I'm actually going to pull up one of them right this second. Here it is.
Here we go.
So this is some Icaros music.
I like this kind of music too, in general.
I think he's talking about when they hit the bowl, though. But that is a little snippet of the music he's talking about.
Ding, 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 ding. I fell out of the chair. And I was like, wow, I had this peace. I said, what the hell did you do, man? He said, well, you said the monkeys were bothering you. So I shot them. Ding, 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 ding. I don't like the messages that the monkeys were
I
getting.
think the shamans have a good sense of humor, too, sometimes.
You know, I like that too. You know what's funny is I've never done anything like quite like this, right? But I've had the experience with the bowl. I was in this shop and the old man took the almost Tibetan in a way, and he rang the bowl. And I swear I could feel the vibration as he's holding it near my body and sort of going up.
I'm gonna order a bowl.
I could feel it through my body. It was unbelievable.
Now
yeah.
I'm gonna order a bowl. I'm sure I am. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I would it's just amazing because I tend to be a little skeptical, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it.
It's from the gorilla. Let's go gorilla hunting. I wanted to go deep into what is the bed of my anger or doubt or fears, whatever it is that's getting in the way of my personal relationships, my love for myself and others, my acceptance of myself and others. He said, "Do you see the geometric shapes?" I said, "Yes." He said, "If you really focus in on the emptiness between the lines." I said, "Okay." And I looked at it in my mind's eye, and I went, poof.
Whoa.
I just like
You went.
astral traveled into
It's the
blackness.
rocket pack.
Lost, like,
So real quick, that's what they call the ego death. So he struggled a little bit with like his concerns about what was going on. Am I
Right.
going to be in pain? Am I going to die? Da, 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 da. And then the minute he found it, you blast through. And then I think you get out of
blast
body,
right into
and then
it,
it's
right.
no longer about like your physical. It's more like your spirit. Like you're out there at that point. But it seems like you're actually really held, and I don't know. You're in control. It doesn't seem like you're scared. So if you're really high in the air, you're not afraid of heights and stuff like that. Like that
Right,
seems to
right.
leave.
I think the ego death, as it's explained, at least, it seems to contribute to that because it's not about like, oh my God, what's happening to me? It's just happening, and you're just sort of surrendering to the experience. In a
Yeah,
way,
it's
in a good way.
Correct.
Just
And
going with it,
if
right?
you
Yeah.
fight it and you push and you fight it, you're gonna get sick. You're gonna make yourself sick because you've decided at
yeah.
that point that you're gonna go.
the feeling you feel when you have trauma. And in that moment, I went, "That's nothing to be afraid of."
Yeah.
And my falling turned into flying. I was doing somersaults. I was flying. I mean, it was so joyous. But the one
Interesting.
image that I still live with today was I was back sitting in a chair. My shoulders were humped, and I felt two hands lifting me, and they turned me. And in my mind's eye, I saw a long conference table, like in a business office, something you see on Succession. And I'm at the head of the table, and there's these kind of spirits. And I was looking at them all, and some of them didn't look too good. Some of them looked a little angry. And the shaman said, "What's going on, Jim?" And I said, "I'm in this place, this conference room, and there's all these things." He goes, "Those are your spirits." He said, "That's the jealousy spirit. That's the sad spirit.
Oh wow.
There's the kind spirit.
Cool.
There's the loving spirit. There's the generous spirit. There's the angry spirit." You see, Jim, you were sitting at the side of the table while one of your spirits was running your life. You're the head of the table. You're the president. You're the CEO of your life.
I like how the
And they just
shaman,
moved you
he's aware
back.
of the shaman, and the shaman's guiding him through it.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
That's what they're there for. They if you're at the ceremony, they'll if there are 20 people there, they'll walk past all of them and the people, and they'll look at them. They'll come over and talk to you, and they can push you
Yeah.
through. They can definitely push you through.
It's
into
really
the chair
interesting.
that you were born in.
It's so important because you could do it by yourself and just panic, and then it's just nice. It's like everybody was a child once, and it's great when your parents like pick you up and you don't have to walk. Like my son, I pick him up and I love him.
Oh, yeah,
and I think it's such a
right.
wonderful experience. He loves when I hold him and I take him places, and it's like you're kind of being picked up like a child.
Kind of guiding him through. Yeah, that's a great analogy. It sounds like a great analogy. I mean, I've never done anything like this, but it sounds like, other than grow up as a child, right? It's
can relate.
exactly that. Yeah, it's like your parents are guiding you if they're doing their jobs well, or you're guiding your son, and I'll assume you're doing your job very well,
Yep.
through these moments of life, just like the shaman's guiding, in this case,
Yeah.
Mr. Belushi.
Let's
his.
not. I would say to most people, try not to forget that you were once a helpless child, and you had to rely on so much kindness of others, and not
Yeah,
only that,
yeah.
but like the meanness of others. You had to get through all that stuff, you know. And the world
Yeah, right.
was a dangerous place, and you came in weak and unprepared. You know, you don't come in strong. You get strong. You come in basically
Yeah.
close to
it's
death.
true, man.
You're
true.
only a couple nights away of not being fed and
So
left there, and you're
vulnerable.
dead. You know.
So vulnerable in the beginning.
Yeah. So I like to watch more of that. This video is getting a little long. This is one of my favorite videos we've done. I just like how we
I
can
agree.
share
It's
different
just
things.
such a
and
fascinating
it's
topic.
great. We could do another part 2, but I would like to get to this indigenous,
Yes.
an actual shaman, who does it.
Yes.
So hold on, he's right here.
Hola.
So the question to this shaman, he's a
Hola.
real deal shaman.
Here we
He's
go.
a Peruvian shaman. I love Peru. Oh, wow. You know what's real quick? I'll just put this real quick. I got into this ayahuasca topic and consciousness about 3 years ago, and then I started to learn about Peru and stuff like that. And then at my job, there was a woman there who is from Peru, and she saw me and she immediately was like, wanted to be my friend and would just tell me all about Peru and ayahuasca. It was really cool. It was super cool.
Nice.
It's like she came to me,
Nice.
and she actually told me she had a near-death experience, and she said she went to a castle in the sky and there was no pain. And I was like, really?
Oh, wow. Look at this.
She grew up in a jungle, and she had no shoes until she was like older. She grew up with no shoes, and she had monkeys in her backyard.
That's amazing.
She's a very cool person. She's the only Peruvian I've ever met.
She must be so interesting to talk with.
She is.
It's not like she grew up in Lima or a major city. She grew up in the countryside, the jungles.
She grew up near,
rainforests,
oh God,
right?
we should cover that too. You know the lines, the Nazcar lines or something. She's from around there. If you've never seen them, we have to.
Yes,
cover them.
I know what you're talking
They're
about.
incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Very cool.
I just thought I'd share that because it was almost like she appeared to me, and she likes me. She likes me. So if I wanted to date her, I'm in a loving relationship. It just wasn't going to happen.
Oh, of course.
But I do respect her, and I'm like, oh, you're a real Peruvian, and I was so into Peru, and then she just appeared, and I was like,
hey,
is this my wife of another like? Whatever, I don't know.
You have a way of connecting with people, which is fantastic, and you also have a comrade right here who is
when I first started
ready to mingle.
When I first started working there, she just would look at me with these, like, she's a beautiful woman. She's older, but she's still very pretty, and
That's
like,
nice. Yeah,
I'm like, it was like she was like, you must talk to me. It was cool. It was
right.
cool.
She's probably is in fact pretty, but she probably shines from within too, right?
She's the kind of woman too. When she walks, like she can walk. Like her hair is still beautiful.
Yeah, I know
oh
what you
my
mean.
God, she still got it. She looks great.
Nice.
Nice. So anyway, I told that because that was
a
real Peruvian person that I met, and she's very interesting.
Soy Sandy, del pueblo Shipibo, del comunidad de San Francisco. Ya practicando casi más de 25 años.
Okay, so just let me read some of this. So he's been practicing for more than 25 years. So that's a lot of people that he's consulted, you know.
En el mundo de conocimiento ancestral.
A world of ancestral knowledge. You hear that? And this is 25 years deep, and he says that so casually. You know, if someone was lying, they would sell harder. He doesn't sell harder. It's just
exactly.
You know.
Precisely, yeah. It's just he's just stating it in that calm, measured tone. You don't feel like you're getting a sales pitch.
Enseñando o compartiendo con este compromiso. Entonces, esta oportunidad quiero compartir un poco de lo que es un proceso
to share a little of what a work process is like.
De trabajo.
The work. Focusing on healing. What a beautiful thing to focus on healing. So many people focus on self-destruction. Isn't it nice to focus on healing?
You're absolutely right about that. Yeah.
It's true. And it doesn't help with all the music they put out. That stuff is very destructive. They don't have a lot of good music.
And even in their spiritual pursuits, sometimes people don't realize they're actually beating themselves up rather than connecting with their, let's say, true selves, however they choose to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating, though. They don't realize that, in fact, they might actually be beating themselves up and adding to their own misery.
Which is mostly, daily for most people.
Exactly, right? Present company
all right,
included,
so I like to wrap this video up by 45 minutes, so I'm going to play this in the background, and then we could just read some of these caps here. I would have liked to brought this in earlier. It's tough with a topic this large, you know. It's like I just love it. I think it's interesting.
So much to cover,
and I like how we talk about it, and we're free flow with what we're talking about. It's hard to quantify something so incredible. But I think we did a great job. I really do.
It's a big topic. It's a lot to cover. It's something I don't know a lot about. I've only heard about it. And
I have been researching it for
endlessly fascinating.
3 years. I have been shamans and consciousness and spirituality. And so basically, let's just get a couple more of what he's saying here. During the first ceremony of visions comes like a movie. That is not correct. We truly connect with ayahuasca when We can accept whatever it teaches us and when it indicates problems in our lives. So be open to listening.
Right.
The connection is when a spirit brings you to a new understanding. That is what matters.
Not expecting like the pyrotechnics of
right.
I like his approach. Yeah,
so
'cause I think
true,
he's right.
because he probably deals with a lot of Westerners, and me and you, bro, we have been indoctrinated. Terminator 2, Aliens. I mean, we could go on and on about painting pictures
right?
about what we perceive as spirit, right? I mean, we played Final Fantasy. I mean, I'm entrenched in pop culture, dude. Like,
me too.
From every level,
too, yeah.
every video games, movies, music, GI Joe figures. I mean, come on. My world has been painted, and I have been an active participant in it. You know.
Yeah.
So I think
true. Same here in a lot of ways. Yeah.
What he's talking about is like, I guess the movies, I don't know if it's good or bad, like what paints your world. I guess when you get involved with this, be prepared for it not to be like the movies.
Right.
I am an old man and I have never seen visions like a movie. See that? He just said it, which means audio soundtrack and perfect time. I don't know. He's just saying it's not as produced.
Yeah, you could bet since he's been at this a long time. You know,
I simply connect with ayahuasca. That is a bar. I simply connect.
Knowledge.
I receive knowledge
of what I do wrong and free myself from it.
Know.
Okay. Yeah.
So open
I like that.
to listen.
Yeah, it's like
he's talking about a bad trip. He's saying how to not have a bad trip. Having a bad trip would be like, I know everything. Don't tell me nothing, right? Like that's the ego, right?
Could imagine. Yeah, the ego gets in the way, and in so many aspects of life, right?
It's
gets
that
we should cause a little trouble.
We should accept the experience the way it is. Many are concerned about not having a positive connection. They think it is negative. Yeah, the Catholic Church sure does, and so does a lot of religions. They'll paint that as the worst. They'll be like, everything you see, look, like right there, full of darkness and fear. That's what somebody who went to church would tell you. Like, everyone you meet's a demon, you know? And if that'll put fear into you, if somebody makes you believe that. And then they'll be like, they'll say, all that's evil, but listen to me. I know what's right. And then you're like, oh no.
Oh yeah, I've always questioned. To each his own, right? Freedom of conscience. I've always questioned a person who claims to have a lock on absolute truth.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how did you? What knowledge did you get that the rest of us are not privy to? Is my first question. How is that possible? Right. Yeah.
It's a lot of times it isn't. It's just a gimmick. It's just a moneymaker.
Oh yeah,
it's a thing.
It's
a lot of formal
way too many questions.
Religion is beautiful, and they have their own cultures. They all do. They're all kind of awesome. But I think there's like this thing at the top that they all are trying to interpret. And I think that's kind of what he's talking about, which is like universe, space, time, all that stuff. My son, what does he say about the sun? My son, the one who wants to teach you, he won't show you only nice things, but will start with challenging aspects. Yes, darkness and fear exist. This darkness that you see, you have to learn how to transform it with the power of the mind. So that would be the way you perceive it and the way you would process it. You must clear things up. And when it is clear, the light will come. No one is going to come with light and do the work for you. Okay.
There you go. I like that. That sums a lot of things up. No one is going to save you from yourself. You have to do the work. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think every day in my own way that I try to do this as much as possible with my intentions and how I treat people. The people I love, I tell them I love them. I'll just like, I love you. I think what you do is great, and I'm grateful for you. I do it a lot, so
it's a good idea.
My son, I have capacity for love, but my son, I don't know. It's just an amazing thing. It really is. As I get bigger, I mean, he's only one, and it's just like, oh my God, I know every time I see him, it's magic. And when I wake up in the morning, I know I get to see him, and his sounds and the way he learns.
That's glorious.
Yeah, it's so great. Young kids
glorious.
Young kids are so great. They're so wonderful. They
enjoying
really are.
those moments
Oh.
as they go.
I relish in them.
As he gets older, as you get to see him grow. That's amazing, man. That's what
Oh,
life's all about,
I'm
right?
very, very blessed,
There it
man.
is.
Very blessed, man. Very, very grateful.
Wait.
Yep. But that was great. I would totally do another one. This was supposed to be a 20-minute
Heck yes.
episode possible. I like this. This was really good. I don't care
Me
who
too.
you can whoever watches it. Hey, look, we subscribe. Hey, look, we got one. So we do a lot of videos just
Yep.
like this. We talk about profound, cool things. We have banter back and forth, but we always try to keep it fun. And this Meta Bullet is here to learn. I'm
do.
curious. This is a show about curiosity and learning. In a fun way, obviously. So anyway, thank you, good sir. That was dope.
Thank you.
We're going to record another episode. We're going to do taking cold showers. I think we're going to crank that out.
Yes,
real quick.
let's do it.
So with that, I'm out.